It's mid-November, middle of spring, and it's mid-morning. Majority of my yard is already in full sun. The yard is west facing, and in Australia that's afternoon sun. But as the sun gets higher in the sky during the year, it seems to put my whole yard in sun majority of the day. So the plan today is to build a shade cover for this section so that none of these burn. So what I've purchased, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm going to give it a go anyway, hey. I've purchased 2 pop-up shade tents, 2 shade cloths, 2 packets of ratchet straps, some cable ties, and I also purchased ground pegs to secure the whole thing, but they don't arrive for a couple more days, so we're just going to assemble everything because it's going to be mid-30s today. So I really want to get everything in place and we can secure it in a couple of days' time. So what I'm planning to do is to put up the structure from the shade tent, or the party tent as it's called on the box, and not put the roof on it, put the shade cloth on it instead. Secure the shade cloth with the cable ties and use the ratchet straps and the ground pegs to secure the whole structure. So this section over here is now in full sun all day. So I want to give it a little bit of protection over summer. So I'm hoping this idea works and it doesn't take off in the wind and I lose it. So now I'm going to move majority of the things out of the way where the actual tent poles are going to go, so I don't damage anything, and then put the whole thing up. Well, I've managed to assemble the top part. All the pieces were numbered, so that wasn't too difficult, except one part did have 2 numbers. But apart from that, so far so good. So I'm going to attach the shade cloth to the top. Then we'll put these little posts in the ground over here and put the top on. I think I might put the shade cloth on the top part before we actually lift it on. Okay, well I've attached the shade cloth. I've used the cable ties through all the little holes in the shade cloth to attach it to the frame. And now we're going to figure out where to put the poles over here and get them into the ground and then lift the shade cloth over and attach. Let's hope this works out. We've got the whole structure in and we've positioned it, the poles, where we can get the ground stakes into the ground at a later date. Hopefully this week they'll arrive. So what we'll do here is just take a little bit of brick out in the corner and put the stake in there. And what my husband has done is he secured the poles up the top here with rope. And along here he secured with cable ties to the window frame and actually put the pole through the plant stand down to the ground. And it did come with little straps, not straps, what are they? Little pegs. They're pretty flimsy, so hopefully they'll hold until the ground grabber stakes arrive. But all up, I'm pretty pleased so far with what we've done. Now I just have to put everything back. I did have to pull out some of the coral aloe and the plants here just to make a bit of space, but it probably could have done with a spruce up anyway. Okay, so it's now lunchtime. We've got one of the shade structures up, but it's starting to get really hot. So I've put all the plants back on the shelf. Yeah. And I've just measured up. I've got the tape measure on the ground down here. we can fit in a second one of these shade structures. It's going to go back into the garden a little bit here, so I'm going to have to move a few things around to make a space. But at the moment, I think we'll just wait until tomorrow to put the other one up, because it's getting far too warm to be standing in the sun. These are the coral aloes that I chopped off in order to make room for the shade tent. I've got about 8 or 9 there that I can put somewhere else. I'll probably put those out in the front garden. It grew quite quickly. It started off about that size when I put it in the ground. Quite pleased with the shade structure, but now I've decided that these golden tooth aloes here are taking up too much valuable shady real estate. So I think the next job is to start removing all of these and putting them somewhere else in my garden. It was only about half a dozen when I first planted them, but now there's hundreds. So I'm keen to see how many I get when I actually pull them out and split them all up. It's now late afternoon. I've managed to pull up all the golden tooth aloes. Nice space here. Look how many I got. There's like a dozen really big ones and a couple of hundred smaller ones, I think. If I get time tomorrow, I'll count them up. But time for a dog walk. Shade structure's holding in, and hopefully we'll get the second one up tomorrow for this area here. Well, it's now Sunday mid-morning, and I've decided to take the shade cover off the first structure just because the wind is blowing so crazy, and without any ground stakes, I was really scared that this thing was going to take off. So I decided to pull off the shade cloth and wait till I've got proper things to secure it to the ground. And the wind is really gusting. It's starting to gust quite strong. I had to hold that thing down while I was getting the shade cloth off. And it's probably between 50 and 70 k's an hour this morning, and it's about to pour with rain. So I think I got the first bit done of that one, but I think I'll have to wait until tomorrow and for when the actual ground pegs arrive to get the rest fixed up. Well, it's now Friday afternoon. It's currently 35 degrees Celsius. I've covered majority of the yard with shade cloth. We've erected the second structure and put the shade cloths back on, but only loosely. They are 85% shade, so I'm going to actually replace them with a 50%, because I think it might be a little bit too dark, but today is so hot, it doesn't matter. I just want to cover them. So we've got the whole cover over all the aeoniums here so they don't fall apart and burn or crispy. And everything else is looking okay sitting under the shade. These are my ground stakes. They've arrived this week. We just haven't had time to put them in. I've been so busy working. So they're a 30 centimetre stake with a nice big screw bit on the bottom. And you need a special bit on the drill, and you put them into the ground to secure. So the aim is to run a ratchet strap from the top of this structure down to the ground, and then secure the ratchet strap into the ground with the ground stake, and this thing here should hook in. I don't know, I have to follow the instructions in here. But yeah, I've got 8 of these. So I'm hoping that's going to be strong enough to secure this down to the ground. Luckily today, no breeze. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get these in over the weekend. Tomorrow we have 36 Celsius predicted. So I'm going to leave the shade cloths as is for the moment. And hopefully it's not too hot over some point of the weekend to get the ground stakes into the ground and secure this whole thing. Well, it's now Saturday morning. It's 9:30 in the morning and it's already 32 degrees. So it's going to be a really hot day today. It's not much wind at the moment, luckily. But my husband, fantastic, got up early and he assembled the ratchet straps and the ground screws for me, just in case it does get windy later. So what he did was he got the drill and he got this special drill bit that goes on the top of the drill head, and that goes on top of the screw. And he drilled the screws down into the ground with a hook attached to the top of each screw here. And he's got one on each side of the pole. He hooked in the ratchet strap and he ran it up just slightly off the ground here and wrapped it around the pole. And what that does is it gives a bit of tension. So if the wind blows, this ground screw is still pulling down from this point. So here, he's now hooked the ratchet strap in and he's brought it all the way up to the top of the structure and wrapped it around the top corner. And he's pulled it back down again, wrapping it around a few times all the way down, just to keep it nice and secure on the pole. And then he's put it back down into the second ground screw. Down here, there's another one hiding in here. Down in there. And now it's all nice and secure. So hopefully, now that if the wind blows, the tent will stay in place. So each pole is now secured with a ratchet strap and ground screws, and hopefully that's going to do the job. It's now Wednesday the 27th of November. It's quite gusty with wind. My structure seems to be holding up quite firmly. I've attached the 50% shade cloths. They arrived yesterday. And hubby put some screws in all the parts on the structure, just so that they'll all stay together. Everything seems to be holding in place, so I'm quite pleased. It's creating a bit of shade over everything, doing the job. Okay, now it's pelting down, and my structure is still holding. Go in now because I'm getting soaked.